Listen up, Big Ten fans. I have a question for you. Who do you want your team to play against in the SEC every single year? Brian Kelly thinks that's an idea. We've got playoff chaos. We've got USC's win total on today's Big Ten squad.
You're talking ball with the Big Ten squad, sponsored by Game Time. From USC to Ohio State, from Michigan to Oregon, from Nebraska to Washington, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big Ten weekend. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big Ten squad.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into this week's Locked On Big Ten Squad. I'm Spencer McLaughlin, your host. Mark Culkin of Locked On USC is here, and we'll be talking about his team to wrap today's show. Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. Ryan Herrings of Locked On Badgers is here, even though he doesn't have a banner. That is indeed what he does for a job, I can confirm. Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes, Trent Condon, Locked On Hawkeyes, and Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer of Locked On UCLA. We are squatted up today, and Brian Kelly is just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. And he's saying the SEC could go to 9 games, which they should do, of course, like the rest of the industrialized world. They should stop playing Wofford, late in the season, and that goes for the ACC as well. And then Brian Kelly said, well, we should have a Big Ten matchup. We should have an annual team. So, Mark, everybody's going to get to chime in here. No Vanderbilts, okay? Just going to establish that.
Alabama, though.
No Vanderbilts, Zach. I know that's where you want to go. So, if you had to play an SEC team every year, Mark Culkin, where do you want to go?
Well, last year USC took out LSU, so we've been down that road. They took out Texas A&M. They've been down that road. They've had some matchups with Texas in the past. USC's beat Auburn. They beat Arkansas. Georgia. USC remembers Alabama from not too long ago. So let's see what they have down between the hedges in Athens.
Are you referring to the infamous we're ready to prowl coming out of the tunnel only to get your brains beat in?
USC having a lead for about 27 minutes in that game, and then the wheels fell off.
Was it 27 minutes or 27 seconds?
It was close
or
to
somewhere in between.
Well, only scoring 3 points against an SEC powerhouse to begin the season. Look, there's no shame. That's all I will say. Jacob Cohen's Locked On Hoosiers. If you had to pick an SEC team to play every year, just going back and forth home and road, which I think is fun. Like I'm here for it, as the wannabe schedulings are in college football. Who do you want Indiana to play?
Yeah, I think you got to eliminate Vanderbilt, yes, Mississippi State, Kentucky. Like, those games aren't any fun. Arkansas, if what's-his-name can't survive this year. I think it would be fun for Indiana to play Tennessee, just from a color standpoint. It would be Hoosier red and that nasty Tennessee orange, just because you can't get two things more opposite of those two. And, look, Tennessee's Indiana's on the rise, so I'll take Tennessee. Why not?
Well, okay, a couple of thoughts. First of all,
Indiana football throwing shade at Tennessee football. What world are we living in?
Why not?
I wonder that, Trent. A couple other thoughts that I had. Are you really picking the matchup here based on the primary color wheel we learned when we were 5? And secondly, did you forget that wheel? Because you just said red and orange couldn't be more different.
Okay, but you've got Indiana red, you've got the Indiana red, and then whatever orange they call themselves orange in Tennessee. It's not a pretty orange by any means. And I just think the color contrast would be cool. Yeah,
okay. Moving on.
Indiana would win.
Yeah. So. Well, maybe this year. I don't know about next year. Ryan Herrings, where would you want the Badgers to travel to? Maybe not Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, we're going there this year, baby. Let's go. Honestly, I don't know. Nobody. Maybe that conference needs to win a title before they start trying to squawk about, coming up to play in the Big Ten country. It is really fun to see SEC, coaches and teams and programs start to get really, really kind of a little uneasy about the shift of the power. I kind of enjoy it low key. But if I got to pick a team from the second tier conference who is hasn't won a title in a couple years here, give me Arkansas. We'll call it the Brett Bielema Bowl. Obviously, they kind of came in the middle of the night and swept him off his feet to go down there. And, give me Arkansas. That feels like another program that has a lot of, people that like good food and good beer, that's what Badger fans do. So, yeah, let's go Arkansas. Let's do a home and home there.
That's like the greatest soundbite pitch for Wisconsin fans ever. We like good food and good beer. That's it. We'd like our football team to be good, but we only get that once every few years.
Don't need a quarterback. Just give me some beer.
Yeah. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes, where would you want Ohio State to go?
I got a few places I would like the Buckeyes to go. One is to Gainesville, play Florida. Down to the Bayou, play LSU, Oklahoma, and give me Alabama. Why not just go there and just play those teams? It's a type of rotation. No, you're not going to play all 4 in one season. But I think all 4 of those schools – I'm being generous to Florida right now because they really haven't been on Ohio State's level in quite a long time. But I think it would be nice to go down there and play the Gators for once.
Just for the record, Goins, for schools that would have cool contrasting colors, Florida's blue against Indiana's red. Those are different. Those are very, very different.
I don't want to go to the swamp, and not because of Florida's team, just because, dude, it's hot down there, and the people are kind of crazy. I'm good.
Well, okay. That means you don't want to go. That means you don't want to go.
No. I thought he's from Queens.
Yeah, some guy from Queens just hopped into the chat. That definitely was not our Locked On Gators guy. Trent, where would you send the Hawkeyes in the SEC if you had a choice?
So we got a border rivalry with Missouri. Played them last year in a bowl game. A lot of similarities there. Arkansas is a very drivable trip. So those would be the ones that would make sense. And yeah, of course, it would be cool to play a Florida, a Georgia. But I'm living in reality. I was not going to get a scheduled matchup like that. Kentucky with the Stoops angle, obviously him and his brothers all played at the University of Iowa. Kentucky would make a whole lot of sense. So yes, the big name brands would be a lot of fun. I like to live in reality. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, probably the more likely ones.
See, that's a humble man who knows what his program is. Don't reach for the stars. Just stay in your lane and understand this.
You should try this, Spencer. It works well.
Well, I don't have a team. I am neutral arbiter of all things college football, of course. But anyway, Zach Henderson Yoxheimer, where would you send the Bruins?
I mean, I've been to 3 SEC places, been to LSU, been to A&M, been to Tennessee. Obviously, the easy answer this year would be Tennessee.
Yeah.
I would think the real answer, I think, would be spicy, but I think within the realm of possibility, Auburn. I think Auburn would be a respectable, unique choice.
Wasn't that on the schedule at one point, Zach?
Yeah, when it comes to all this scheduling for UCLA to cancel it, and they're going to probably throw it back on the schedule when the Big Ten SEC happens, that'd be pretty funny. They were supposed to play Auburn and Georgia, I think, coming up before they wanted to play Utah and, Cal.
Never, by the way, speaking of UCLA and the SEC, never forget that wasn't LSU supposed to play you guys again a year, or was that Michigan that canceled? Michigan
canceled.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Michigan
lame.
canceled. Okay, never mind. I got
and
that.
And UCLA's beaten LSU, swept Tennessee. That's all I'm saying. Beat Texas A&M in one of the greatest college football comebacks. So when it comes to UCLA versus the SEC, not bad in recent years.
That comeback was with Bruins legend Josh Rosen. Am I correct?
Yeah, when it doesn't get louder, over 60,000 fans in College Station. That was his legendary quote the year before. So when they have clearly. What were you saying, Mark?
No, I was going to say, I thought you were done. I was just going to interject something.
Well,
you're allowed to. You're allowed to.
Good. In case Georgia turns USC down, this is a way to get Lane Kiffin back at USC. USC will miss the series.
See, and this is why scheduling should be done on a short-term basis for these matchups. Imagine if you just scheduled a home and home, every year or every other year, I guess it would be. Because right now, if you were to start them in the odd years, you would, of course, have UCLA play Tennessee. Who isn't watching that game? You would, of course, have Ole Miss play USC. Who doesn't want to see that football game? Give me all of the coaching drama in non-conference games any place that we can get it, because good non-conference games are more fun for everybody, and they can help you make the college football playoff, which is going to look like, who knows? Who knows? We're talking about that next. Good transition, Brandon. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. Before tip-off and live, they've got player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And if you want to bet on college football, which you might because you're listening to or watching this show, you may do just that very thing because you've got win totals for every Power 4 team. The group of 5 win totals are out there if you really want to get spicy and into the weeds in college football. You have conference title odds, you have national championship odds, Heisman odds, individual games, which are less than 3 months away. Those can all be wagered upon over at FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so Herrings, I do want to go to you first on this because you said something earlier that I too am enjoying, and that's that the SEC is, still really good, but they don't just dominate everybody. Haven't played in the national championship game in the last 2 years. Big Ten has, of course, won 2 in a row, and will be in a good position to win 3. I don't know if they will because maybe Texas gets in the fold, maybe Clemson puts himself in that conversation. But whatever happens with this new playoff, I just had the same reaction as you. Like, I just keep seeing the SEC kind of squirm. All the coaches and the commit, and Greg Sankey was so defensive the other day. He's like, whoa, what did I do, man? I mean, I'm just running college football. I'm not a bad guy. And we're like, okay, Greg, none of us believe you, but keep talking.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, listen, his job is to stoop for the SEC, right? Just own it. Just own it. Just own that's what you're trying to do. But in the big picture, the idea that, we're going to have somebody left out, like, I'm sorry. You're going to have 4 teams guaranteed. If your top 4 teams aren't going to make the title, your 5th team's not going to either. It just, suck it up, man. Your last 2 years, this has shifted a little bit. And if you follow the money, which generally means a lot in any type of sport, the Big Ten is $100 million up on the the Big Ten is $100 million up on the SEC. And that revenue gap is probably going to continue growing. So there is a bit of a shift here. The SEC is uncomfortable with it. That's what happens when the bully gets knocked off the pulpit, and the Big Ten is the new powerhouse in town right now. And they are a little uncomfortable with it, and I got to tell you, I kind of love it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Everybody can pay players, and it's starting to level the field. Speaking of paying players, Mark, over there at USC, your thoughts on the potential changes that are arriving at the playoff?
I was going to ask you, do you have anybody left in your class?
I don't have a class personally. You see all this? I've got some college football stuff. There's Walt and Mickey, of course, and then some Mariners bobbleheads. So, neutral arbiter of college football.
Which bobbleheads though?
Felix Hernandez is up there. Griffey is up there. I think Edgar's up there. I think Ichiro's up there 2 or 3 times, and I think there's a Richie Sexton bobblehead in there as well.
But no Oregon National Championship. Okay, we're good.
Nice.
Okay, that was unnecessary. But anyway, Mark, my question to you was about all these proposed changes or formats or what could happen with the playoff. We have 4-4-3-3-1-1, 4-4-2-2-1. We have 5-11. I don't know. What do you make of this?
Yeah, that 5-11 one kind of made me chuckle a little bit. If the SEC can't get their way, they're going to make their own way. So they're talking about, look how many teams we got into the baseball tournament. Look how many teams we got in the basketball tournament. And it's like, so what? Play a better schedule, and then maybe we'll talk about your proposal. I'm for it. Give me the 4 automatic berths in the SEC and in the big conference. Everything else, let's just go from there. Play your 9 conference games. Shut up. Put on your big boy pants. USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, we've been doing this for years. 9 conference games is not that big a deal, folks. And you can play Notre Dame in the same season. It actually happens.
I think that's one potential benefit of this expanded playoff. I find the whole thing repulsive, of course, but we might get there, Goins, and that would be better for college football, right? If Alabama's not playing Mercer before they play Auburn every year.
I mean, yeah, just take those types of games out. And I understand the argument of, well, those types of teams that, the Mercers or, a South Alabama or whatever the case may be, those teams have to have those games to make the money to fund their program to stay alive. I get that. But man, we're in a different era. We're moving out of that to where it's not the responsibility of Power 4 schools to fund the smaller schools. How do you fund those? I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead, and I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But you've got to find a way to make it as equal as possible for those at the top, which is the SEC, the Big Ten, and the other power conferences. Make it as even as possible until you get to the postseason. However many teams you get in there, awesome, and then see what happens. But the Big Ten just needs to do their best to attach the hit to the SEC in terms of however many they get in, we got to get in there too.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to do that. I don't know what's going on with your audio there, Goins, but hopefully it gets figured out for everybody's sake.
They weren't scheduling Mercer and the Citadel and Wolford because they wanted to make sure those programs survived.
Yeah.
That was probably way down on their list of, let's schedule those guys.
Well, I don't think that those games don't have to go away. They just need to not be played at the end of the season because you are not playing another conference game. That's my whole, I think, everybody's point.
Play 9 conference games, get 2 byes. Do it that way. There is a solution.
All right, Jay, I'll throw this to you. 4 auto bids for the Big Ten, 4 for the SEC, or 1 for each. And I personally, I'd go for 5 auto bids for the conference champs and 11 at large. I know some people are anti-committee influence. I'm not. I'm pro-committee, man.
No, I'll go 5 auto bids for the conference champs and 11 at large. That's the only thing I like about this whole thing. I still don't even like conference champions getting an automatic bid, but among the 3 options we have right now, that's the only one I like. I can't stand their scheduling between the SEC and the ACC with those bottom feeder schools that they're scheduling. I don't care if it's the beginning of the year or the end of the year. I've never been a fan of that, even when Ohio State does it. I get why Ohio State schedules Youngstown State. I don't care. It's not needed. There is no level in sports at all where you're going to say, we're going to be, let's say the NBA started scheduling G League teams. We would go crazy about that. But we're okay if an Oregon or a Wisconsin schedules FCS school. It doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe I hope that pushes those things away. And at some point, which I know it's not going to happen, just get the top 16 teams, conference champions or not, and seed them. But I know that won't happen. These people don't care about doing what the right thing is. They care about dollars and cents. I get protecting your conference and your team and your school and all that. I get it. But I don't think what they're doing is going to make themselves look good in the long run, but they don't care about that. If their pocketbooks get bigger, they're happy.
Oregon had an easier time beating Illinois than Idaho last year. Fun fact. Trent, do you think that the 16-team playoff is the godsend that Iowa football needs to get into the playoff?
Not necessarily. I mean, Iowa's been on the cusp many times and a lot more than a lot of programs that are out there. This is the one part, though, that is a little bit frustrating for me because when the concept came up where you got the number 1 and number 2 seeds taking each other on in the championship game, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, that gave something for programs like Iowa that is attainable. How many years in the new Big Ten is Iowa going to finish in the top 2 and get to a championship game? Once every generation, every 25, 30 years that they're going to be in the top 2, but to finish in the top 6, that's attainable for us, for Minnesota, for Wisconsin, for Nebraska, for Illinois. I'm going to name off 10, 12 programs inside this league that is something attainable. It was something to shoot for. If we go back to 5 automatic bids for the conference champions and then have 11 at large, you know what it's going to be? It's not going to be the Iowas. It's not going to be Wisconsin's. It's going to be the bigger name brands that are going to get the benefit of the doubt. And we're going to see a bunch of those name brand 9 and 3 and even 8 and 4 teams are going to get in, and it's going to be frustrating.
Trent, I was just going to say, Trent, I love that you talk about Iowa like a guy who's decently good looking but is way too scared to go out and ask the girl on a date.
I've
that
been
could
living
never.
that life for 45 years. So
that will never happen. No, not me. Sorry, Mark.
Spencer, how can you be for the 5 and 11 when you were just a minute ago promoting better out of conference scheduling? I think the 5 and 11 promotes scheduling down to get those, 11 available bids.
Well, if I had my way in college football, teams wouldn't actually get to choose their own schedules.
Yeah.
You would have a rotation of conferences that would match up against each other in the non-conference. Your one would play your one, your two would play your two from the prior year, and so on and so on. And when there are extras and the numbers don't match up, you just kind of figure it out. That's what I'd like to do. But to answer your question, because it's not a world we're going to live in, the answer there is that you are, as a team, have to give the committee a reason to like you, to vote for you. And if you are, and by the way, we've talked about the Big Ten and SEC, but we haven't mentioned the ACC and the Big 12, for instance, which have plenty of good teams and plenty of quality programs that can boost your resume year in and year out. Imagine if you had Arizona State on the schedule last year. Going into the year, it doesn't look like a lot. Suddenly they're the conference champ, and if you had a non-conference win over them, you'd be able to hold that up to the committee and go, look what we did right here, beat the Big 12 champs. So that's my point. I want to give Zach a chance to weigh in here.
I mean, the only thing about 5'11" is what I put when I'm lying on the dating apps. But
That's good. Zach got himself so good with that one. He's going to take himself out of the show. There's no better moment on squad shows than when people bring their own personal trauma to center stage. Nothing's better. Anyway, Cherry Tomato, go ahead and keep talking down there. Zach, that's you. Who else has a face that red? You look like a copy of Jacob's shirt.
just get Tennessee Orange and you'd say they're a perfect match.
Later tonight at the Improv, Zach.
I would say, ideally, if we're getting back on topic, you keep those terrible matchups and maybe you throw those in the spring games, you throw those in week 1 so you can mix and match weeks 1 through 4 with good games, bad games on the other networks, and then you just sprinkle those in so every team gets a bad matchup of sorts to a spring game, if you will, a warm-up game, and then your ideal primetime matchup so every team gets the love. Theoretically, that's not going to happen, but in my perfect world, we all get a medium team, a bad team, one good non-conference, and then a good 9-game schedule. No automatic bids outside of like the conference champions. If it's like 4 for the Big Ten, 4 for the SEC, that's just ridiculous, and we're just ruining the sport, which we're already heading towards at the moment. Let's have 32 teams. Let's get crazy. I don't know. That's obviously not the real answer, but 16, 5, 6 champions, at some point, there might be another conference that's going to form that we don't know at this point. I think we just have to, keep those small schools around. But as you mentioned, Spencer, they can't be happening in week 11 before the Iron Bowl.
We need to get a caliber of blinds for Zach that match the professionalism he just put on display to get through that segment. Make it happen, Locked On. Just let it know we're asking. I tell you what, we're asking next. How many games does USC win? Mark's going to have a field day, and the rest of us are going to dunk on him, I hope. You guys ever see... We lost somebody. That's okay. You guys ever see that Family Guy clip where Meg gets dunked on by Peter?
Like every episode?
I mean literally physically dunked on with the fake college admissions thing. Yeah, anyway, I guess no diehards in the chat, but that's all right. Mark, we'll start with you. USC off a thrilling 7-6 season last year. Was it 7-6 or was it
bookended with an SEC win and an SEC.
Right. SEC win sandwiched on the end, but hey, it just means more. There's Goins. He's back now. 7.5 the win total for USC. For those listening who don't have USC schedule memorized, they start with Georgia Southern. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark.
They start with Missouri State.
Sorry, they start with Missouri State, then they play Georgia Southern, and correct me, thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, that is the return to Los Angeles for Clay Helton? Oh, man.
Yep.
Team's going to be fired up in week 2. So USC starting 1-1. Then they go at Purdue, host Michigan State, at Illinois, host Michigan, at Notre Dame, maybe for the last time, at Nebraska, host Northwestern, host Iowa, at Oregon, and hosting UCLA. 7.5 is their win total, according to our friends at FanDuel. Mark, over or under?
Oh, it's over. It has to be over, or else
The Lincoln Riley era, or what?
could be if it's not. eight would be, for me, would be the bottom. I mean, that's the worst he could possibly do this year and get any sort of quarter from me where I can say, go stand over there and we'll talk. But right now I'm really, really, really disappointed in you. This team has to be a 9-10 win season. There's just nothing to say about it. You're going into year 4. He's had enough time to work with recruiting, to work with the transfer portal. He's got the staff in place. He's been able to transition from Swiss cheese defense to it's a pretty good defense.
Pepper Jack.
There you go. Zach is on a roll tonight, man. So you're going into year 2 with Danton Lynn, and Zach knows how good of a coach Danton Lynn is, right? So you brought in a Rob Ryan as a linebacker coach. You've got the continuity going besides.
I can't believe those guys are still coaching.
Rob Ryan?
No, just the Ryans in general. I thought they were done coaching like 8 years ago.
Sorry. They do really well wherever they go, so that's what we're hoping. It continues as long as he's still alive. But Lincoln Riley has actually transitioned to becoming a more balanced coach. He's got a defense he can lean on now. I can't imagine he's going to go 2 years in a row with a pedestrian offense. So if he can get the offense now to catch up to defense, there's 2 games on the schedule. It's at Notre Dame. It's in Eugene. It's at Oregon. Those are the 2 games that you're saying, all right, if USC can win everything else, they're 10-2. My trap game is the Michigan State game, just because it's that home game, go on the road to what's supposed to be a good Illinois team. So it's that Michigan State, Illinois, and then you've got, again, Notre Dame, Oregon. Everything else on that schedule, if USC doesn't win, it's a bad year.
The road schedule is kind of brutal. At Illinois, at Notre Dame, at Nebraska, at Oregon. Yee. I mean, I've seen better. So Mark's going over. Herring 7.5 for the Trojans. Over under.
Yeah, I think it's over, although I don't think it's going to get to the 9 or 10 that Mark is kind of trying to get there. You know, there's some tough games still. You know, Michigan coming in isn't going to be easy. Iowa coming in isn't going to be easy. Iowa can turn games into ugly.
Oh, come on. How hard can Iowa really be?
Ugly affairs.
I mean, didn't USC have the best punter last year, though? Right? USC had the best punters, so let's get it might be a battle of the punters.
Yeah,
USC lost how many games in the 4th quarter? I mean, they were close.
A bunch. Yeah, and listen, I love Lynn. I think much like James Franklin has demonstrated at Penn State, sometimes the biggest thing you can do as a head coach is make the right coordinator hire, like he did with Koldalnicki on offense. I think Lynn is a home run for them. You saw it immediately in year 1. Because of that, I have them hitting the over. But I actually got some questions on offense. At quarterback on the offensive line, I think Iowa and Michigan can both give them troubles. I like their receivers, but I'm going to put it at 8. I think it's over. I don't think it's more than 8, though. And that's not going to get people off of Riley's case if it's 8 wins this year.
Zach, I'm going to let you go last so you can save all the takes and react to everything in your most prepared fashion. Trent, you unnecessarily took shade from me for no particular reason, so I'll let you chime in here. You go to Los Angeles. It's not exactly known as the most hostile environment to go to, but it's a road game where you're traveling 2 time zones, and that's not easy.
It's not easy in general, and it's even worse for Iowa. Iowa historically, I mean, dating back for 40 years, the early Hayden Fry era, is awful out on the West Coast. A couple of trips to Arizona and Arizona State. They got a Big Ten championship team in 2004, got beat 44-7 by a very average Andrew Walter-led Arizona State team. So this has been a death. You saw it last year. On a Friday night, they went out to UCLA. We know a pretty pedestrian UCLA team. They played by far their worst football game of the season out there on a Friday night against UCLA. I think it's going to be the same this year. There'll be 25, 30,000 Hawkeye fans that'll go out there. The Bumblebees will be buzzing around LA, and they'll walk around with another loss because Kirk Ferentz, he goes to the West Coast and he loses football games. The over-under 8-4. And the thing I like about the USC schedule, I think that has them maybe a chance to be better. two tricky spots. That Michigan game, another team, by the way, historically really struggles on the left coast. You get a bye week before that. And then that road trip to Lincoln, a bye week before that. Schedule makers worked out, I think, pretty well for USC.
Jay, your pick on the Trojans here, 7.5.
I'm going with 8. And it was one thing I was all the show. I've been thinking about under. I've redone my notes here on my notepad. And I think 8's where it's going to be, 8-4. For them to get 9 and 10, 9 or 10 wins, they're going to have to do some things that even the coaches would think would be otherworldly. I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think 8-4 for Lincoln Riley in this year with that roster is a win. It's not a win for USC because their standard should be 10, 11, 12 wins every single year. I just don't think this team is going to have that this year. The schedule's pretty easy for them, honestly. I mean, some of the road games are tough. Michigan going out there, that'll be a tricky one. I'm going 8-4. I'm being, I think, nice to them right now. Maybe not.
They host Michigan, by the way. But
Correct.
I'm with you that the road games, I mean, Purdue is in there, and Goins has plenty of thoughts on what, that trip will be. But hey, Barry Odom will be looking for that signature year one win to ignite hope into the fan base there. So, Goins, everybody has gone over so far, 7.5 for USC. Are you taking the first under?
Well, hopefully my audio was fixed. I left and came back because I had to jump in on the USC conversation. They're going under. Okay, they're going to start.
Oh, there it is.
They're going to start 4-0. Mark, they're going to start 4-0. Everything's going to be fine. Lincoln Riley's job's going to be saved because they beat a crappy Purdue team and Michigan State who can't travel West Coast. They'll start 4-0. They'll then lose 4 straight. They will lose 4 straight games to Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Nebraska. 3 of those are on the road. Michigan out west will be a very fascinating game. You have a good chance to beat Northwestern because they're terrible. Iowa, toss-up game. UCLA, I didn't mean it that way. UCLA, you're going to get that game, but you're not going to win in Eugene. I have them going 7-5, and maybe USC can move on from this dumpster fire that has been Lincoln Riley and find a coach that can win out there. They're going.
Mark's face is starting to boil.
Like I said, Clark Kent, Jimmy. It's go away, kid. You're bugging me.
That's what I think. 7-5. You're just mad because your team's going 7-5, Mark. It's okay.
All right, Zach. The stage has been set for you. Is UCLA going to beat USC when they shouldn't again?
Oh, hello. I mean, I would say obviously that the battle for the victory bell is much tougher than much people give it credit for. The big thing is, I remember Mark, when we did the UCLA win total, he said UCLA was going to win 4 in a row and then lose their next 8. Well, USC will start off 4-0. And I'm not going to say they're going to lose their next 8 because that's a stupid proposition. But I'm really stuck with this Illinois-Michigan back-to-back right there in terms of the scheduling. I think they lose to Illinois. I don't think they necessarily lose to Michigan, but they could. The last ever game at Notre Dame for a while, of course, joke hopefully intended there. Going to Nebraska back-to-back, those aren't easy trips. I know Notre Dame's still searching quarterback-wise, but they're coming off a strong season. Nebraska's under year 2 of Dylan Raiola. You got a whole bunch of tough games on the road. And to just say UCLA is an easy win at the end of the year, if USC is faded, that would be a big win for UCLA, who's won the last couple of times in the Coliseum. I, of course, have to lay my foot down and say they're going under. But it's definitely on the line between the 7 to 8. They got the 7.5 total right, but they're going under. Sorry, Mark.
Well, look at that. We've got 2 unders. That's what listing 511 on the dating apps will get you. I will take them just ever so slightly over, just with the law of averages, because you lose so many close games last year. Statistically, that's not going to happen again. So, and I think Danton Lynn is really good. So I'll be like, I won't make an official prediction, but I'll go over 7.5, but definitely under 10 wins. So I think we wrap it there for the week. Mark Culkin locked on USC. Ryan Herring's locked on Badgers. Zach Anderson Yoxheimer locked on UCLA. Jacob Goins locked on Hoosiers. Jay Stevens locked on Buckeyes. And Trent Condon locked on Hawkeyes. I'm Spencer McLaughlin, locked on all over the place. We'll see you next time on the Big Ten Squad, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.